Actually, what I will talk about instead is branding. You're going to see the branding change on the cybersecurity products. So in the past, it's been ICS Defender, IAM Defender, ICS NetWise, that kind of thing. The branding is going to change to similar to the icon that you see in the corner. It's ICS360, and then you'll have the Defender. You'll have ICS360 Fusion. You'll have ICS360 NetWise. You'll have ICS360.IAM. You'll have ICS360 Cybersecurity Console. So everything is going to fall under the ICS360 from a Dynics perspective with, as I mentioned, the actual individual products in there, okay? You'll see more icons that go along with that. So who knows what IAM Defender is?
Access management. Access management.
Yeah. Ed, you don't count. So it's identity and access management. Well, it's like it's right in the slide. All right, hold on, Dave. You get a football. Why should AJ get one? Yeah, but it's not a questions thing. It's when I ask a question.
My balls, my rules.
Yeah, that's right. Marty said, my balls, my rules. So. All right, so IAM Defender gives you the ability to control users' access to plant floor PCs. Anything that's running a flavor of Windows back to XP Service Pack 2. So you can literally completely lock the screen so you can't see the stuff under, or you can make it transparent. So there's a new look for the installer, which is all about exciting, but again, it matches the look and feel of our current installers and products. The same kind of login prompting that you would get for our other products, other cybersecurity products. It's a little different and not quite the same because it supports older versions of Windows. We can't use the same technology to build it that we did on our current product set. So we've basically mimicked it with a Windows Forms application so that we can load it on older versions of XP. But I would say the devs have done a pretty good job of making it look the same. So current features, you can lock a PC. It can require badge, PIN, or password to access. And it's nice because, for example, anybody from Ford here? Okay. So Ford uses it, for example, on their PCs on the plant floor. Like if you go over to, what's the plant? I can't think of it. Rossville, for example, with Carl. They've got it on the floor so that they can actually see what's going on the machine, right by the HMI, but you can't touch it. If you touch the keyboard or the mouse, it pops up with a prompt. If you hit it with your badge, it just immediately unlocks if your badge is authorized. So it gives you the ability to keep people out of PCs, but you don't have to have, it can be completely standalone on a PC, so PCs that aren't connected, because a lot of people aren't connecting old stuff like old Atlas Copco PCs and things of that nature. You can put it on a local network on the plant floor. If you have like a robot cell, and you have maybe 4 or 5 different PCs around there running something like our ProVDS visualization, and it'll manage all of them from a single install, so you don't have to put, you don't have to have 4 versions of the Access database and all that stuff. It's not Access. The database containing the user and badge information, which is all encrypted. So it makes it nice. Or you can also completely manage it from the Dynics Cybersecurity Console. So you can add people, remove people, add them to collections. So you saw when Josh so successfully deployed that collection. If you've got changes to IAM Defender in that collection, it will send those changes down to IAM Defender at the same time, right? So a lot of functionality in there. I'm just glad that happens to somebody other than me occasionally. That was kind of nice. So that's the typical prompt. If you were to touch the keyboard or the mouse, that'll pop right up, right? If you badge, you'll never see that. It'll just jump you right to the desktop.
Does that time out after like a certain time?
This screen here?
Go back to like the
yeah, you can configure the timeout. Yep. New features. Obviously, updated look and feel to the new Dynics standard. The big change is disable and enable USB by user or device. So now we can completely disable all ability to plug anything USB in and make it work. if you're not the appropriate user with the appropriate access level, okay? Or we can authorize a particular USB stick as long as it's a serialized stick, and then that one can be used by a couple of different people. You can kind of pick and choose how you want to set it up. That's kind of the screen. So it lists all the devices that it finds on the PC, and there's a few options. So you can disable auto run on USB sticks. You can enable USB device locking. And then the last one is kind of important is it just look at storage devices. So I don't care if you guys plug your keyboard in, who cares? I don't care if you plug your own mouse in, who cares? But I do care if you plug in any kind of storage device, right? Be it a drive or a USB stick or anything along those types, okay? And we kind of look at it ourselves to determine what the device is, and then we compare that to what Windows says the device is, and we have to both agree or it's locked out, okay? You can set default posture for new devices, which means if something is plugged in, it's always locked. It's always unlocked. It's unlocked for everybody, or unlocked only for admin level users, or unlocked for specific users. So you can choose the users that when they plug a new device in, they can just use the device, right? So it's up to you guys to decide how you want to manage that. We've made it pretty flexible, right? Any questions about that so far? Okay.
Just one question.
Yeah.
On storage devices, you know how they getting some of those USB driver sticks that they're not storage, but they come in and operate similar to a USB storage. Is that something that's identified?
If it shows up as a USB device on a USB hub or root, we'll see it.
Right. Is that considered a storage device or just a firmware update? Is what I was wondering.
That I can't say, actually. I don't know the answer to that question.
Device probably because of the controllers inside.
It may be, yeah. That's a good question. The question was some of these newer, fancier drives that come with firmware and different types of things on them, do we recognize those as storage? I would say tentatively yes, but I can't answer that for sure. Now we're going to have to try one because I want to see what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Sergio.
Yeah. Is it configurable without that? Or
Say again?
is it configurable for users without that?
Not yet. Not yet. LDAP is one of the features that's coming. One of the things that we're going to be doing is when we add LDAP to the Dynics Cybersecurity console, that's going to manage the LDAP on the IAM Defender through the console, because what we don't need is 500 PCs out there checking LDAP credentials all the time. So we're going to have the cybersecurity console keep track of all the users' credentials and groups, and then push those down to IAM Defender instances. And then you'll be able to configure how often you want the instances to check for updated cache credentials. Okay. Good question, though. Some of the basic features, right? You can disable people from getting to the control panel. You can disable fast user switching. You can immediately activate a screensaver and lock the screen when something logs in. So if somebody sets the thing up to auto boot into a user, it'll lock it a second it boots up. Diagnostic logging, due to some of the EU mandates, it's not by default. And when you turn it on, it will time out after a while. I think we will leave diagnostic logging on for 24 hours and it will disable itself, right? And that gets us around some of the concerns with that stuff. Users, manages, just some different user settings. Transparency is one of my favorite features. You can literally set transparency on the screen save so that on the left, that screen is locked, but you can see anything on the dashboard. If it's HMI software, if it's test software, it doesn't really matter what it is. But you can't touch a keyboard, touch a mouse, or touch the screen. It's locked, right? It'll prompt you. Now, if I hit a badge, it just immediately unlocks. On the right, transparency is set to 0, and the screensaver just pops up like that, and it obfuscates what's on the screen. So you can't tell what's on the screen. You can't tell what the users are doing, okay? Or what the software might be doing on that screen. Licensing, I don't need to go into that. It allows you to do standard licensing. You get when it gets installed. If it's installed by Dynics on a PC and it's licensed, we license it before you get it. If you buy it and install it on an inferior non-Dynics PC, then we would have to generate a license for you. And I know nobody in this room would do such a dastardly deed. And then, of course, you've got the About page, which just got some healthy links. All right. Roadmap, what's next? AD and LDAP integration. Okay. And then another big feature that we have on the list is whitelisting the PC's file system and being able to manage that whitelisting from the console. So you can instruct IAM Defender to whitelist the PC, which is, if you've used Solid Core, for example, it's that type of product. So no changes can be written to the file system unless you've excluded certain folders or done certain things. If the PC somehow gets infected by malware, all you have to do is reboot it. It's gone because it couldn't write to the file system. And being able to know, one of the things, we have a lot of users because we've done a lot of work with Solid Core over the years. And the biggest complaint we get from users is they don't know when somebody doesn't relock a PC after making changes. So when they do a plant floor audit, if they've got 400 PCs, 100 of them are sitting out there completely unlocked. And one of our big customers got hammered by WannaCry. And why? Because every one of their PCs with Solid Core that wasn't locked got it. So now with the console, you'll be able to get alerts and it'll do audits against those PCs to make sure that it's still locked, right? Yes, Ed?
I think we should add, be able to turn the unified right filter off and on for Win 10 IoT.
Okay.
But I see the value in that.
Anybody know what the unified right? So the question is, or statement is, we should also have the ability to turn on and off the unified right filter in Windows. Does everybody know what that is? So nobody knows what that is. So the unified right, well, go ahead, Ed, I'll let you explain it.
Well, it allows you to lock the computer down so that for a demo purpose, you lock it down, you go to open a notepad, save something, put it on your dashboard, you reboot the computer, it's gone. So it saves it only to the memory layer and SD RAM. It doesn't save it to the hard drive, right? So the other benefit of that is you can cycle power a bazillion times on this. You will never corrupt the OS. If there's a malware virus gets loaded on the computer, you cycle power and it's gone. So nothing ever gets written to that hard drive, right? But you can also pull close it. So if you got areas where you got to save data, you pull close it to save that data. So IAM Defender, whitelisting, unified right filter. I don't know why you would be doing all that as a combination. Any industrial computer on for it. Very rugged, robust hardware.
Yeah, it'd be pretty bulletproof at that point. You remember scampering around VLCs with trying to fix steeplechase stuff, trying to fix malware, because when they went out to fix it on one, the IT guy's stick, he put it in the first one to fix it and his stick got corrupted. And then he fixed that one and went to the next one and infected it. And then he fixed it, took the stick to the next one and infected it. I lived that out in Three Rivers one year. That was a sweet deal. Yeah.
Another benefit for IAM Defender is multi-sessions, right? How many sessions of RS Logics are you running on a startup? 5. Right? So it saves a lot of users to not have to relaunch the sessions.
Yeah, so the statement was IAM Defender allows you to have or manage sessions. It's true. You can set up one user session and still manage multiple users across that session, right? So saves on licensing, saves on. Having said that, though, if you do have multiple user sessions running, it will launch for every one of those user sessions. So it may actually launch a service that's unique to every single user session, so that you don't have you don't not get coverage. Anybody got any other thoughts? What else should we do with it? It's a cool tool. The pipes are in place. The plumbing is all there. We just have to turn on new features and add new functionality.
You ever thought about like proximity sensing, right? Like with a Bluetooth beacon or something, and you walk away from the critical machine and it automatically locks or something like that?
We have tossed that idea around. I mean, we've noodled the idea of proximity sensing, and every time we've come up with a way to do it, it's typically a customer said, hey, how would we do this? And then by the time we're done talking to them, they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. I'm like, how about pads, right? Pressure sensitive. You step off the pad, it locks, right? Well, that means if the guy goes over here to look into the tool, comes back, it's locked. Well, I got to unlock it again. Swipe, right? Grumble, 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 complain. So, but it's a great idea. The cool thing about it is the way we built the tool is we've abstracted the hardware that we connect to from the software. so that we can create modules that adapt to any, like biometric. If we want to do biometric, it's very easy for us to do biometric. We can adapt very quickly to lots of different stuff. We've even fiddled around with that little serial button thingy you guys have. I've got a couple of those in my office. So
I know it's Windows only today, but has there been any demand or ask for like a Linux-based type?
no. No. Now I will say that we've just gone to 2 versions. We've maintained a single code base up until just recently. And the problem is Microsoft is stuffing us with their changes in what they will support and won't support for OSs. So we've got a version that supports back to Windows XP 2. It will not have a lot of new features moving forward that goes that far back. We can go back as far as, I believe, Win 7 and continue to support the new features. It all has to do with what version of .NET they're willing to support. The absolute latest and greatest, everything we do today is .NET Core. So as Josh had mentioned, we could very easily fire up anything we've graded recently and run it on Linux or Windows or whatever we want that supports that supports that deployable.
.NET or .NET Core?
.NET Core.
So 3.1?
I couldn't tell you what version it is. What version are we on, Josh? .NET Core.
I think it's 3.1.
Yeah, that's below my list of questions usually. Mine is it done? Does it do what I wanted?